Hey, what's up YouTube? So in this video, I'm going to be customizing the second Kanto starter Pokemon, Squirtle. Squirtle's definitely the more edgier of the three, so I wanted her costume to reflect that. And of course I'm going to be using Laguna Blue from Monster High. Her body's all blue, so it was kind of like a no-brainer. First I'll begin by removing her factory paint. Now I'm going to be removing all of her hair because I'm going to be giving her blue hair made from yarn. Laguna has these like fins that are on her forearms, so I'm going to be cutting them off and cutting away from me because that's like really unsafe. Dump the doll's head into warm water to loosen the vinyl. Now, using the doll's body for reference, I quickly just make a rough sketch of a shirt. So I cut it out. I'm basically just going to sew all the way around it, leaving one side open so I can turn it right side out. But you'll notice that this material frays. When you're working in a small scale, it's almost impossible to sew and have it hold together. So I'm going to be sealing all of the edges with some fabric glue and then sew it. One of the first attacks that Squirtle can learn is Bubble Beam, and I thought that this trim looked exactly like Bubbles and it matches her shirt, so I'm going to be cutting all of them off and re-sewing them onto her shirt and have it sort of emulate a beam of bubbles. Now for her skirt. I want her skirt to be very geometric, so I'm going to be cutting out a whole bunch of triangles out of this blue fabric, and then I'm going to sew the sides together and then flip them so it comes out looking like this. And this is what it looks like. This fabric also really frays, so I had to secure all the edges with fabric glue first. But let's string it all together and see what it looks like. Alright, we got our skirt. Look how fun it is. It's okay that it looks really rough around the edges right now. I plan on embellishing it later to cover up any mistakes. I'll be closing it with some blue ribbon. Now for the eyes. I'm making tiny craters into balls of Palmer clay, and then I'm going to bake them and paint the insides with the corresponding colors that I want and fill it with all kinds of sparkly things. Now let's move on to her hood. This is the shape that I came up with. It's pretty basic, but her hood is going to represent Squirtle's shell. And I thought this material looked very similar to a turtle shell. So basically, I'm just going to sew all along here, and that'll create a hood. All right. Now I'm going to be taking some white felt and putting that all along the edge of her hood. It's alright if you can see the stitching. I'm going to cover all of it with 2 different types of glitter. So I'm lightly brushing on some watered down glue. And then coat it with glitter. Now let's make some resin. This is 2-part clear casting epoxy resin. You really have to have exact equal amounts, otherwise it won't cure properly, and the end result will be atrocious. Not to mention very sticky. Now I'm going to just make a complete mess and just continue to make a mess. It's worth noting that I had a lot of coffee during this part, and I was just all over the place. But the good thing is, most of this will be covered up anyway by either white paint or it won't even be showing because it'll be inside her head. So, we only need a small portion of it to be perfect. Why am I continuing to do this? Now for her shoes. This is a pair of Monster High shoes. The colors are actually almost perfect to what I would want, but I still am going to customize them. And these are the colors I'll be using for her hair. Light blue with a little bit of yellow highlight. Now we gotta cover up these gashes that she has on her arms from when I cut off her fins. The color's not an exact match, but I'll get there. And also, I don't know why she has these holes in her legs. I guess it's some sort of accessory, but I'm going to be filling them in. And her webbed fingers. Those have to go too. Alright. Now, I made her 2 different sets of eyes because I wasn't sure which route I wanted to go. Lighter blue or darker blue. I was thinking about the lighter blue because they just look really nice. So, to inset the eyes, I pretty much just figure out where I want the eyes to be placed first. And then I take some super glue and just poke a few dots around her eye hole and then place the eye back inside. Very, very carefully. The super glue is definitely not a permanent hold. Oh god, I just messed up so badly. It's okay, we can fix it. Okay. Whew. Forgot I made that mistake. The super glue is definitely not a permanent hold. So now we're going to reinforce the sturdiness of it by just putting a whole bunch of epoxy sculpt in there. It's alright if it's not pretty. It's inside her head, you won't see it. Does anyone want to tell me why CR4 was etched into the side of her scalp? So I've painted in some of the whites of her eyes just to fix the mistakes that I made earlier, and now I'm just going to be painting on some eyeliner, a really rough outline of what I want. I'm doing a really rough outline of what I want because I know I'll be able to go back in and fix it later. Alright, now it's time for her hair. I'm just taking a hair straightener and flattening out all of the yarn that I brushed out. Now I'm going to be gluing them onto any plastic thing I could find, which is a collection of glitter. And then when it's dry, pull them off and cut off the excess glue, and then you have tracks of hair. And I'm also going to be curling them. So what I do is I just glue them on track by track by track until her whole entire head is covered. Done. Oops, just kidding. Ah! So now I'm just going to be embellishing her skirt with more and more and more. And a few more, and this doll is done.
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them is my real test, to train them is my cause. My whole life is linked to this. Time to test my skills.